Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. I just want to say Chodesh Tov to everyone. We just had an amazing Hallel, so uplifting, such a great way to start our preparation for Kabbalat Torah. Like this is what it means, like to come into Kabbalat Torah, and we'll see today what it means to really be in Malchut, to be in our glory. This is the week in the Sfirah of Malchut. We're leading up to receiving the Torah. We are all princesses. We're all daughters of Hashem. And what a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants from us is to represent that. We are representative. We're ambassadors of Hashem. Always Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson always says this. I steal his line. But we really are. It's like incredible that we have the ability and the potential to tap into something so great. That we have a zchut, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. We say it every day. Say it by Aliyah Torah. The men say it. And it's true. This is the zchut that we have. And we have to feel it. We have to tap into it. We have to be in gratitude for it because it's a zchut. When we say, I don't know if you realize in the Birkot HaShachar, I teach Tefillah also, Shelo Asani Goy. Let me introduce myself. Sorry, my name is Karen Miller. I live here in Ramat Bet Shemesh. This is going to be almost 3 years. Baruch Hashem. I'm originally from Israel. I was born here, moved not by choice. When I was 7, my parents moved to the States, to New York. I grew up in Brooklyn. And I had 3 kids, Baruch Hashem. Happily remarried, Baruch Hashem. I came here 6 months after I got remarried, Chas Hashem. And yeah, it was not by choice. It was just like Hashem just threw it, like here, Chas Hashem. And I'm a motivational speaker. I give shiurim to ladies. I speak at events, and I also am a life coach, and I love sharing inspiration. That's just my passion. I welcome you to my shiurim. You got to get on my list. I have a few groups on WhatsApp. Those of you who know, I have Living Inspired. I also have a YouTube channel, Living Inspired with Karen Miller. You can go on there and see other past shiurim. I also post most of the shiurim on my group, not most, all of my shiurim on my group. And I also have a Thank You Hashem group where women are in gratitude every single day, writing Thank You Hashem notes, inspiring each other. I talk about gratitude a lot. And I also am the head of an organization that started, really it's not an organization, it's an initiative that started called Lev Ha'am. And Lev Ha'am is basically an initiative that started during Corona by a couple of women here in Israel. I came and I translated, some information, and I put it out there. We had over 200 women on Tisha B'Av, our first kickoff event. 200 women who joined, some of my friends here from around the world, really, that just sat together, cried, davened, shared, and just gave their heart and soul. And it's an initiative to promote Ahavat Yisrael, to promote Todah Hashem and Emunah, Bezrat Hashem, and the Geulah, Bezrat Hashem, in all our efforts. And we basically get together, so to speak, remotely, on Zoom always, but like we, in our head, in our mindset, come together and pray for the Geulah. I send a couple of times a day a message to women should gather together to pray and to gather in Ahava and Todah and Emunah and a yearning for the Geulah Bezrat Hashem. So today we are in the midst of getting the Geulah. Hashem is bringing it. I don't know if you see what's going on in the world. It's all messages from Hashem. And we have to hear the messages. We have to heed the call. Baruch Hashem, I have women who have other initiatives that have joined me. I recently had Rabbanit Yamima Mizrahi. We had a unity event for Leilui Nishmat, the Palei boys. A couple of women approached me and said, let's do something. And we, Baruch Hashem, had over 1,000 women joined together in Tefillah on Ta'anit Esther. And we had a message from Mrs. Palei. Baruch Hashem, her husband is home. He's still recovering. He's walking on his own 2 feet. Chas Hashem for all the tefillot. And they have a new baby boy. Baruch Hashem. And yeah, she was pregnant. Yeah, she was expecting. And so I want to dedicate the shiur. Should be as a refuah shlema for the father of Noach ben Yehudit, as a zchut for Yeshuot, for her family, for the Palei family, and for all those who lost their loved ones, the Asor family, the Yaniv family, the D families, and it should be Hashem Yikom Damam, those who perished, and Leilui Nishmatam Bezrat Hashem. It should be a zchut. And there's so many initiatives that started, and that's what we need. We need women to gather together to just give chizuk to each other.
Yeah.
And this is what we're entering. You know that Sivan was, Aleph Sivan was the time that Bnei Israel came to Har Sinai, and Har Sinai was not coincidence, it was Har Sinai in the Midbar Sinai, right? In a place of humility, to be able to be mitached. Vayichan sham neged hahar. It says b'lashon yachid in a singular word, right? Vayichan said vayachanu sham. And there Rashi says, Ke'ish echad belev echad, that they all joined and united be'achdut. And that was the hachana, the first preparation to being able to be zoche, to receive the Torah. The Torah is something that we're zoche to when Klal Yisrael are united, when Klal Yisrael are together. Yesterday I heard a phenomenal share from my Rav, Avraham Levi Shlita. He is the reason why I came to Ramat Bet Shemesh. He made Aliyah about 10 years ago. I'm in his Rebbetzin and family. The girl I'm watching is his granddaughter. I have a zchut of knowing him for many, many years. He was a Rav in the Kehillah in Mill Basin, Brooklyn, New York. And he said over a beautiful word. I can't repeat everything because it was very deep stuff and I didn't have a chance to write it down because it's Shabbat. But he was saying that the whole concept of being able to accept the Torah is us humbling ourselves, is us coming to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, please give it to me, right? Because I want it, not because I deserve it, but we had to come to that point in a state of achdut, of understanding that it's not just about me, but it's because I care about you and you and you. Every one of us is important, it matters, and we can't look at ourselves as being higher than thou. And we see that the whole preparation from Pesach till Shavuot is Sfirat HaOmer. What are we doing during Sfirat HaOmer? The whole month of Iyar is preparation. Right after Nisan, we have Nisan is the Geulah. That was a time where Bnei Yisrael were being formed. They were a baby. It was like an infant being taken out of Mitzrayim, being taken out of the Galut, being taken out of the trenches of Tum'ah. And if they weren't being taken out, they were not going to be able to leave. Because Hashem had to take them out, right? Pesach Alehem, right? The Pesach, the whole world Pesach was, he passed over, right? The house, and he took them out. And we say this and we recount this and we relive it, we embody it on Pesach, in the Chodesh of Nisan. And then we go into Iyar. And the Iyar is all about the individual working on themselves. We see that every week we're reading Pirkei Avot, which are lessons from the Tanaim of how to improve our midot. We read we count the Omer and the counting itself, the Sfirah. We spoke about this last month. The whole inyan of counting is also preparation leading up to something, right? When you're counting towards something, you have camp date, right? A girl has camp. She's waiting the summer, right? She's counting the days till she gets to camp. But here we're counting up. We're not counting down because every day we are working on a certain aspect of the Sfirot, of the midot that HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed in this world and created this world with. And this week, we know the midah is malchut. But leading up to this week, we're different midot, and there's a midah within a midah. We're not going to get into all the technical details, but I did give a shiur a little bit about it if you want to listen to it. But really the essence of it is to prepare us, right? Every midah is like, there's midah of yesod. Yesod last week was relationship. It's all how to build our relationships with Hashem, with each other, with ourselves, right? That's Yesod. And each midah also is representative of humility. We have tiferet, harmony, right? Gevurah, might, to be able to be strong, to be able to hold ourselves back. All of these things are midot that we're supposed to work on ourselves. And we come to Sivan. And Sivan, I'm going to talk about a little bit as we talk about this month and preparation for Shavuot. And really, the whole essence of Sivan really is Matan Torah, being able to be zoche to Matan Torah. Because we know in Mitzrayim, we're in the Metzar, we're in the constriction, we're in the tightness. We lead into, and by the way, the sign for Nisan was a Taleh. Taleh is representative of the Korban Pesach. We lead into Iyar, where the sign was a shor, was a bull. A bull has strength. A bull, pushes through and shows his, might and shows his, strength, right? And this is the whole essence of a spiritual development. And that's already the teenager stage. We started as infants and now we're in the teenager stage. And now we get into Sivan. And Sivan, the sign for Sivan is Gemini. I don't know how many of you are Geminis. Anybody? Yeah? So Gemini are Te'umim. Te'umim are twins. Let me talk about Gemini. I'm reading from a book called The Month of Sivan. It's from Rav Dov Ber Pinson. He has a series on each one of the months, and he talks about the signs and the aspects, the midot, how we learn from it. So the mazal of Sivan, the astrological sign of it, is twins. And we know that Yaakov Avinu was a twin, right? Yaakov and Esav. So this is bringing us to the stage where we're able to come to development of ourselves, where we're able to establish ourselves as human beings, our individuality, and be able to accept responsibility. Responsibility of what? Receiving the Torah. Being able to come to the Torah, with this human attribute, he says, deductive thinking, intelligence, having our own intelligence. These are all human signs, right? There's not too many human signs. We have another human sign from the Mazalot is the Virgo, right? The Virgo is also a bit like a Betula, right? It's a female. Other signs are usually animals. So we see this is a human sign, a human mazal, which represents our development of self, a development of our intelligence, our personality, and being able to mature and accept that responsibility. Mm-hmm. And we need to work on these aspects to be able to be zocheh to receiving the Torah. That's what he talks about here. And he says Geminis are journalists, a little bit of Geminis. Maybe you probably know this already. They're generally intellectual people, free spirits with deep yearning to know everything. They tend to gather information of all kinds. This intellectual flexibility can manifest as a tendency to leap quickly from one topic to the next. Geminis can dislike being contained orderly in their pursuits. Is that true? A rectification of these tendencies is to practice walking, so to speak, delving steadily into a single subject and considering opposing viewpoints until the depths and details of the subject are fully received. It's like such a beautiful way of putting it. So when we receive the Torah, and when it's fully received, he says, we inscribe it in our heart. Right? Ki Hashem hu Elokim. What do we have to know? We have to know that Hashem is one. How do you know that? You have to know it, and you have to impress it on your heart. It's not enough just to know something, but that knowledge is to be able to manifest itself in our hearts, in our actions, in the mitzvot that we are going to be given, Be'ezrat Hashem, in the time of Kabbalat Torah. And we spoke about briefly, we said that the Torah was given in the Midbar. In order to receive the Torah, in order to really comprehend what it means to keep Torah mitzvot, what do we have to do? We have to be in a place of humility. I mean, Midbar is a place, it's humble. It's outside of the city, right? Outside of the action. Not too many things growing in there, right? Not so much water, right? We have to humble ourselves. We have to show Hashem that we're ready. We have to work on ourselves. We have to work on our midot, work on our ga'ava, our pride. It's not about I, the capital I. And it's not for no reason. And it's not by coincidence, really. I should say, b'mikre. B'mikre, mikre is rak me'Hashem. It's only from Hashem. Everything that happens is no coincidence, no coincidence. Rak me'Hashem. That we just passed the Hilulah of Shmuel Hanavi, who was Zochet to always go and visit everyone. As he was Oleh L'Regel, he stopped off by every spot. So I'll tell you, on Thursday night, I was in Ramot. I said, I'm going. I have to go. It's Kever Shmuel, it's Hilulah, I have to go. I get there, they close the road. You have to go park somewhere and walk. And I didn't know if there was a shuttle. There's like an aliyah. No, so I was not in the heart of Yom Yerushalayim. Yes, it was Yom Yerushalayim. And that's the other thing I wanted to say. There's also Yom Yerushalayim. It's Koach, Kafchet Iyar. It's a very special day. My Rav was talking about the whole essence of what that day represents. And the Shmuel is the leader. He was the leader of Klal Yisrael, right? He was the Navi. And even Yerushalayim is, Shechubra lo yachdav. See that connects, that attaches everyone, that connects everyone, the Achdut. It's not a coincidence that this just fell out right before Rosh Chodesh Iyar. And we just read the parasha of Bamidbar, which talks about the counting of Bnei Israel and how they were set up in their walking in the Midbar, right? As they were going from place to place, and their dgalim, And each one of the degel represented, we can have a whole shiur, a few shiurim about that. I actually taught them about. And this degel, which is so symbolic of who they were, the essence were, there was an animal on it, there were colors, certain colors on it, representative of the midah of that shevet, where they stood, the location where they stood, right? We know Dan was in the back, he was a Maaseh, right? And in the middle, in the heart of all the shvatim was Moshe and Aaron. These are not for naught. This is not for stam, that these things were like that, and that this was a parasha leading up to Matan Torah. What is this teaching us? Every person, what's a degel? A degel is representative of recognition of who that person is. They belong to this country, right? When we see the flag of Israel, Magen David, we know that's Israel, right? We know it's talking about our country. It's representative of who we are now. It's interesting. Some people think that Magen David is Zioni, I don't, put on Magen David. But actually, my Rav was speaking and saying the Magen David was started in the way that it's shaped. There's two stripes, right, on a white background, and that's like the talit.
Wow.
The talit is representative of our protection, right? And the Magen David, the sources of Magen David come from the Torah. They don't come from when they made the flag. It's called Magen David, David HaMelech. And if you look at the Magen David, it has triangles on each one of the sides. That's the formation. That's the degel of each one of the tribes and the way they traveled. There's all the directions. They travel according to all the directions. Each one of the directions is representative of a midah, of, like we said, chesed, gvura, tiferet, right? All the aspects that we're now working on ourselves, that's representative in the way they march within that way, in that direction of each one of the midot, according to the tribes. I'm not going to get into it. It's a lot of details. And the middle part, right? The core, we see, that's where the Torah, that's where Moshe and Aaron were. So that's why the Magen David, actually, a friend of mine wrote something, if I could read to you. She summarized a little bit what the rabbi said. He said a lot more deeper stuff, but I will read it to you. I just thought it was beautiful the way she wrote it. It's in Hebrew, so I'll translate. Degel zeh, I'm talking about the flag of Israel, right? Degel zeh meyateg et hamedina, represents our nation, our country. Ribonotah, its rabbis, mosdoteha, establishments, ezracheha, its citizens, beIsrael u'ba'olam. Not only here in Israel, but also around the world. Degel zehu ba'al reka lavan, it's white, ve'alav, the background's white, ve'alav shne pasim ofakim b'tzeva tchelet keheh. Also, the stripes are in what color? Blue. Dark blue, it's called tchelet keheh. These pasim lekuchim mitoch hatalit hameuteret bepasim, just like our talit has stripes on it. And what about the colors? צבעי הדגל מבוססים על התכלת. What's the תכלת? ממנה היה עשוי המעיל. The מעיל, the כהן גדול. What's תכלת? שהיה חלק מבגדי הכהן גדול, וביניהם סמל היהדות מגן דוד, and also the symbol of the מגן דוד. הסמל הוא סמל יהודי המתחבר למסורת ולהיסטוריה היהודית. It's connected to the Masorah, to the tradition, and to the history of the Jews. דגל הזה הוא סמל יהודה. It's a symbol of Yehuda, שמסמן התיישבות בכל חלקי הארץ. That represents the settling, right, in the land. סמל של שלום, a symbol that represents peace, גאווה, pride, ניצחון, victory, אהבה, love, קבלה, acceptance. אבל לפני הכל, סמל הבית של העם היהודי. This is the symbol of the home of the Jewish people. And this should be representative of us. What's a degel? A degel is to represent something. It's to show who, like we said, this person belongs to. And each shevet had their degel. Each degel, let me just finish what she says. She says a beautiful thing. Every person that this flag represents is part of Am Yisrael. הדגל הזה מקבל ומחבק את כל מי שמקבל אותו. It wraps with love everyone that accepts it. She's right. So it's just beautiful. But really, a degel is representative of of what that person is, what he belongs to. And so each one, my Rebbe was saying, has something. If each one of us has something that we belong to, has something that wants to be shown out, right? We each have our own tafkid. And that is what Klal Yisrael is. We know there's a Kohen, we know there's a Levi, and we know there is a Yisrael. We each have a role. No one is more important than the other. Each one has to have their particular mission, right? And mission statement and what they're doing. And no one's comparing notes because we each have our tafkid, right? Just like a woman who's working, she has her tafkid. A woman's home, she has her tafkid. Not one is more important than the other. We each have our role. We all play different roles as mothers, as daughters, right? As wives, right? We each have a different role. And within those roles, we have to develop those roles. We have to show those roles. We have to be ambassadors of what we're representing, of who we are, and be proud of it. And a lot of times people are embarrassed of who they are. A lot of times people don't want to show who they are, right? Because, who am I? What am I? You should know that's not humility. It's the opposite of humility. You know, every midah has a measure. And the measure that midah, that's what midah means, right? How much we have of something is important for us to be always working on it, right? Even gava, you could have good gava, good pride, and we can have negative pride, right? Sometimes people are haughty. They think everything belongs to me. Magyeli, I deserve. Give me, give me, give me, like children, you know? We brought into this world with our hands open. Give me, give me, give me. And as we develop, right, we're supposed to work on that and be able to give to others. Chesed, gvura, and be able to balance that. Tiferet, splendor, harmony. And right as we leave this world, how do we leave? We actually come to this world, with closed fists, and we leave this world with open fists. So that is what we're supposed to be working on. So these are midot. So gava could also be good. I'm proud to be a Jew. I'm proud to be a mother of this family. I'm proud of what I'm doing. I'm proud of my mitzvot that I keep. And we have to share that with others. That's not bad gava. It says it's kinat sofrim, jealousy. You're allowed to be jealous of people who are learned. You want to achieve that. You want to grow to that. You want to be able to achieve certain midot. But being jealous of your friend's car or house, beautiful dress, it's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. That's not your tafkid, right? So there's midot. And this is what we're working on. This is why we just read Parashat Bamidbar. We are working on our tafkid. What's my tafkid? What's my role? And I heard Rebbetzin Rachel Silber speak, and she said this is a week of Malchut. What is Malchut? Malchut is carrying yourself like a bat melech. Malchut is not, that's not gava. It's called, Rebbetzin Tehila Yeager always calls it, azut tikdusha. You have to represent a Jewish woman with a chutzpah. It's like azut, it's a chutzpah, right? Of kedusha. Not a chutzpah like, how dare you, right? But more, this is who I am. How does a woman carry herself? And if you see Rebbetzin Tehila Yeager, you know what I'm talking about. She is a queen. She is a bat melech. She's the daughter of Rav Freifeld, alav shalom. I have a book on him. You read about him. He's a tremendous person. Huge. I actually met him. I was so excited to meet him because I knew his granddaughter in camp, and she brought me to her father. I was about to at that time. And she goes, "You want to come to my house for Shabbos?" I'm like, "Okay." I didn't know what I was going to, where I was going. She's like, "Oh, my grandfather's a Rav. We're going to be eating by him tonight." I'm like, "Okay." Comes to the room, and everybody's standing up. And I'm like, oh. There was the first time I understood what yirah is, right? Awe. Not fear, awe. I was like, everyone's standing up, like, oh, grandchildren, wife, children, and he had this presence. And then he speaks to me. I was like, you're talking to me? He's like, good Shabbos. What's your name? Where are you from? Oh, I know your Rav. He knew he lived in East New York. My Rav was from East New York, Rav Jermaine alav shalom, from Starrett City. And I was like, whoa, like such gadlut, but such warmth, such ahavat Israel. And this is his daughter, Rebbetzin Yeager. If you meet her, she's a beautiful lady. Blonde shades, always made up, always dressed beautifully, elegantly, and the way she speaks her Hebrew is so beautiful. Ivrit Sachat, it's called, it's like beautiful language. And she always talks about the Hebrew language. And when she talks about Azut Kedusha, and she talks about this, like she went into a store. I remember she was telling us a story. I used to go to a shir every month. She gives a shir in Brooklyn. And she said that she went into a store and she found this doll. And she said, I couldn't help but get this doll. Her face was like very tough face, but she was dressed so beautifully, so elegantly, so with royalty. She said, this is who we are. We are women of royalty. This is the week of Malchut. Rebbetzin Silver spoke about. What does it mean to be in the week of Malchut? To be approaching Matan Torah? She said it means to always have Hashem's presence with you. In everything I do, Hashem, you are with me. Hashem, let this act that I'm doing now should be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. It should be to be able to sanctify your name. It should be something that's representative of who you are. I want to represent you. And if you're scared to do something, utter a tefillah. Hashem, please be with me in this, whatever I'm doing, right? I'm going to approach someone. I'm going to speak to someone. Maybe I want to ask forgiveness from someone. Hashem, please be with me. And everything we do this week is to be able to carry the malchut with you. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy. Be out there with kedusha, azut de kedusha. I am a bat melech. I am the princess of Hashem. How do I carry myself? And I was just reading one of the things, I think Rabbi Haber in his book on Sfirat HaOmer. He says, how do you dress when you're going to daven? How do you dress when you're going outside? Do you dress the same way? On your Shabbat, we put our best clothes. People think you put your best clothes when you go to a chasana. No. Shabbat, you're at the chasana. Shabbat, you're with a Kadosh Baruch Hu at the wedding hall. That's when you put your best clothes. I had a friend, she had this fancy dress. She's like, yeah, this is for Shabbos. I'm like, that's not for a wedding? She's like, no. Shabbat is the wedding. Shabbat is the day. And when she would daven, she would put on a sheitel. I'm like, why put on a sheitel? You're home. She's like, what do you mean? I'm talking to Hashem. And it really taught me an awareness and understanding that, yeah. And how many times we get up, okay, I put on my robe, and I'm home, like I'm chilled, I'm relaxed, But really, we are princesses. So we have to act like a princess. And so maybe this week, maybe be more sensitive. And when you're about to daven, okay, putting on your sheitel is a little bit higher, it's like a higher level, But you could put on a nice tichel, not your schlumpy tichel that you sleep with, you know what I'm saying? That's awesome. You don't have to put on makeup, but put on a nice dress. Don't wear your nightgown when you're saying Berkot HaShachar. I know it's a madrega. We have kids. We're rushing them out the door. We're busy, right? But it's an awareness. Who am I? And of course, as we enter into Shavuot, Rabbi Benita Mima Mizrahi just spoke last night. I was lucky to be there. And she was saying, we're preparing our cheesecakes, right? We're preparing the cheesecakes. Okay. What are you thinking about when you're preparing the cheesecakes? What are your machshavot? What are your thoughts? I want everyone to like my cheesecakes the best. It's going to be the best cheesecake. I know how to make it. I know this, I know that. Or I want to do this for the sake of the Yom Tov, as a zchut that I have to be able to cook, to be able to bake, to make delicacies for my children, for my home, for my guests, to be able to mekadesh Shem Shamayim, and even say tefillot when you're preparing it. And that is the minhag of doing the cheesecake. She was saying that there's a whole inyan. It's not stam. Right? Eretz zavat chalav udvash. That's one of the things that we learn. And we're also supposed to decorate our house, right? So not like, sometimes I won't say in certain communities, like we have to outdo ourselves, like to buy the best flowers and have a whole decor that's worth hundreds of dollars, and you have to see what goes on, and the cheesecakes and all this stuff, No, that's not the point. The point is to bring Hashem. And how do you want to welcome Hashem into your homes? We decorate our homes with flowers, with greens. We make things pretty for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not about letting people's eyes pop out, right? It's not ga'ava. It's kedusha, right? I remember also teaching the tefillah of kedusha. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh kadoshim b'chol yom ya'alelu chasela, we say, right? So I listened to Shira in Landau. And she said you're supposed to lift yourself up when you're saying that bracha. I try to remember that because Kedoshim, b'chol yom, we're Kedoshim, not just the Melachim also. We're Kedoshim. And that's the other thing. When we're approaching now Matan Torah, it says, Atem tiyu li mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh. You are kohanim, you're priests. You're a special nation, goy kadosh, a holy nation. And we have to carry that with us. Who we are, how we speak, how we walk, how we talk, how we act, how we don't act. Sometimes not saying something, not being a certain way, right? not being a balat gava, not being haughty, not speaking lashon hara. That's representative of kedusha. And we have to remember that, especially this week with our relationship with our husbands, with our children, with our friends, and how we conduct ourselves. And maybe something should not be said. And maybe I shouldn't look at things in that way. And maybe I should try to work on it. Rabbi Shira Smile said that yesterday in her shir. Anybody went to her shir? It was phenomenal. This is her shir. Like 8 pages of notes. I thought I'll go through it between Shabbos and today. It didn't happen. And she talked about actually who is representative of this month. We know David HaMelech. We read Tehillim, right? We should try to read the whole Sefer Tehillim. You can't finish it yourself. Try to be in a group to finish it. Because David HaMelech died on Shavuot, right? So we try to say, what is David HaMelech representative of? He was representative of Shirot v'Tishbachot. Tehillim are Shirot v'Tishbachot, praises of Hashem. Who do we learn that? Who is his ancestor? Ruth HaMoaviyah. But we know Ruth, the Gioret, she was the one who representative of the whole Torah. The whole Torah is Ruth plus 7 mitzvot b'nei Noach. When we talk about the Taryag mitzvot, that was Ruth. Because she took upon herself, when Naomi told her, no, go your way, it's fine, you don't need to be with me, go start your life, And Ruth stuck to her and wanted to cling to Torah, to mitzvot. Ruth represents Shirot v'Tishbachot. She is the concept of praising Hashem. She is the concept of royalty. She was zochet to see her grandson sit on the throne. That Shlomo HaMelech, when he became the king. And this is the concept of Ruth, is the concept of royalty. I'm going to find it, but there's a beautiful part that she said over from Rabbi Bernstein. It says, what is the meaning of the name Ruth? For she saw the manners of her mother-in-law. In light of a statement in the Midrash quoted, Ruth represents, actually Ruth is my mother's name, an embodiment of the trait of kindness. This is the other thing, the midah of chesed. This is something also we're supposed to be working on. I think we just started it. We already passed the midah of chesed shebe malchus. But this representative, the whole Shavuot, is a representation of kindness. Now look at this beautiful part. It's interesting that her name should be associated with the concept of seeing, re'iyah, Ruth, re'iyah, right? Seeing. That's her name. For his kindness not rather something that relates to acts that one does. Chaim Friedlander explains that while kindness ultimately takes the form of action, its essence lies in the faculty of sight. What does that mean? Much of what determines whether or not a person will perform an act of kindness begins with what they see or what they don't see, right? This can express itself in one of two ways. Either one, perhaps they are so wrapped up in their own needs and affairs that they simply do not see others, right? They don't notice people that pass by them in need of kindness. In that mindset, the attention they pay to others only ever focuses on what that person can do for them, right? Not the other way around. Sometimes people come to us and we don't think of what we can do for them. We're automatically like, could you help me? Could you do this for me? And we don't see other people who maybe need. Or perhaps the other way, their egocentricity leads them to devalue others from being worthy recipients of their kindness. In this respect, even when they look at another person and notice his needs, they do not see, quote unquote, someone of value who deserves their generosity. That feeling of higher than thou, right? Okay, maybe she needs, but I don't have to be the one to give her. I don't see it, Sometimes a person's so needy, they don't see past their neediness. In light of this, we can understand that a person may consider himself kind, and in a specific sense, he may well be. Yet his diminished vision bars him from achieving the true level of kindness he is capable, and of the full difference he can make to other people's lives. In truth, many of life's opportunities for great deeds start out in the corner of our eye. It is up to us whether we choose to face them, bringing them into sharp focus, or turn away, allowing them to leave our field of vision entirely. There was one thing which did not allow Ruth to leave, because she saw Ra'ata et Naomi. She saw Naomi. She saw her pain. She saw her needs. And she was not prepared to simply shut Naomi out of her field of vision. And because she saw, what did she do? She stayed, right? And the outstanding levels of kindness, which would forever become associated with her, were able to emerge. So we have to be on this level of seeing. The kindness that we do is a product of the things we see, and the things we see are a product of what we choose to see. Sometimes a person chooses not to see certain things because it's easier for me. It's somebody else to take care of her, right? And sometimes maybe we're in our pain. That's okay. I feel like sometimes we're not able to see because we are in our own pain. We're going through our own struggle. But we can still say something, even if we can't give something. We can still show we care. And you know what? When you share, I feel, when you share of yourself, when you give of yourself, of just who you, what's going on with you, a lot of times you see people who speak and they share their personal journey, they share their challenge, because it lets people feel like, I relate to you. I know what you're going through. And we each are going through stuff. Like, come on, you know what I'm saying? We're still in good moods. Everyone has stuff. And that's sometimes what we need to do, is to see by sharing, to show that we care, to notice those people. I always talk about, I have a lot of friends who are divorcees, who are unfortunately not divorcees, they're agunot, right? They haven't gotten there yet. You know, last night Rabbi Yirmiyah spoke about Ovadia Yosef, Zichrono Livracha, right? He always tried to be matir the agunot, try to find ways to allow the women to be able to get their get. Such a chesed. Such a chesed. And Rabbi Shira Smiles was talking about being able to be there for somebody, right? When you know they're like a newcomer. She was saying, like in camp, somebody came over and approached someone and gave him a Danish, and he just told him his name, where you from, and he just like calmed him down, because you know in camp how kids are like nervous, everyone's new, no one knows what to do. And he remembered that, he called the person who did that. He said, why'd you do that? He goes, oh, I had a counselor who once did that for me. So he called that counselor, and he found out who that kid was. It was that kid that, you know, that got the Danish from him. And he said, who taught you to do this? He goes, oh, another counselor of mine. And he called them, and he says, who taught you to do that? He's like, also a counselor. And he says, who was he? He says, Shmuel Kamenetsky. He says, but don't call him, because he probably did that to a lot of people. Just to make him feel welcome, you know, and accepted in camp. So this is gadlut. This is malchut. Malchut is seeing others, understanding, showing you care. So I was saying about grushot, agunot, they're older singles, right? Who feel like nobody notices me, nobody sets me up, right? And like nobody invites me for Shabbos. You know, it's hard. And then we have, you know, people like me and you, who maybe we're married, and maybe we have kids, maybe we're going through something, and we have our neighbors across the road, across the hall, right? Or our friends that we haven't reached out to and they haven't heard from them. Pick up the phone, give them a call, invite them for Shavuot, send them a cheesecake. You know, it's just seeing others, showing you care, and maybe sharing, because sharing makes a person feel like it's not just about me, right? It's like, I'm talking about myself when I share with you, and like, oh, that's so nice, she's sharing with me. So now I feel like I want to share with her, right? And really, it means a lot. I know I was divorced for many years, and you know, I had a friend, Alea Shalom, name is Devorah Bat Adel, Tenishmata Began Eden. She left behind, unfortunately, 8 Yatomim. Her daughter, Baruch Hashem, just got engaged. Oldest daughter, Baruch Hashem, Shah Tova Mutzlachat. And she always would tell me, "You're coming for Shabbos." Like, she wouldn't even ask me, "You're coming." I just moved to a new house, right? When I, you know, a little shortly after I separated, she's like, "I'm going to be by my mom down the road. You're coming for Pesach. You're going to be by us the whole Pesach." This is who she was. I don't know too many people like that, because I was divorced quite a number of years. I didn't get so many invitations. No problem. I'm gonna wrap it up. I know people have to leave. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Yes, try to come tonight if you can. Amazing. So we see this is what it means. What it means to give, to care, to notice, to be there for our friends, to be there for others who are not such close friends, and to share of ourselves. And when we do this, this is Malchut. This was who Ruth was. This is the whole essence of what she represented. And she was Zocha to have David HaMelech, who we say Tehillim every single day. You know why we say Tehillim? Because Everything that we feel and every experience that we've gone through is in Sefer Tehillim. Hine kel yeshuati eftach v'lo efchad, right? Even when I'm scared, even when I feel lonely, I feel like Hashem is with me, David HaMelech says. But yet, he says, Sasol ve'agon, he said, I don't remember the whole pasuk, but in a time of rejoicing. And he talks about when his son chased after him, right? And he talks about the sorrow and the pain. And he talks about the happiness of Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Every perek of Tehillim is a song of representation of a feeling, of something we experience in our lives. And you should, by the way, if you can, try to learn. I was thinking maybe giving a class on Shavuot night, talking a little bit about Tehillim. Try to learn a perek of Tehillim. Try to really delve into it and see what David HaMelech is saying and connect. Sometimes we have a perek that touches us, that we understand, that we feel it.
Right? You recommend?
I like Mizmor Todah. I say Mizmor Todah all day long. You could see also my Abraham legacy. I gave a class on it. Mizmor Todah, I feel like anything that happens, even when I'm in search of Yeshuot, Hashem, I'm thinking you in advance that this Yeshua is going to come. Perek Kuf, chapter 100. I like Mizmor David. It's a famous one. Hashem ro'i lo yachsar. It's very short. It's easy to remember. We say Mizmor David, Hashem ro'i lo yachsar, Perek Chav Gimel, 23, right? All the famous ones. Also, like learn it, try to understand it deeper, or choose one that you like. You should try the Lubavitcher Rebbe says that you should try to say the Perek Tehillim of your age, of a year after, a year of, let's say you're 23, you say chapter 24, because it's the year of the 24th year of your life. So, and I try to say for my children, on Shabbat especially, my husband, for my children, and try to say a little tefillah before I say it. Really, you can pick whatever perek you want, but the whole point is, David HaMelech is saying what we're feeling. Let's connect to it. And on Shavuot is the time to be able to do that. So this is one aspect of the royalty. We spoke about azut dekdusha. We spoke about humility. We spoke about seeing one another. And really the whole essence and the whole thing of chesed is really the representation of kingship. It's really who we are. It says, Bnei Yisrael rachmanim, baishanim, gomle chasadim. How do you know a Jew? You see his characteristic. He has mercy. He has rachamim, compassion for others. Baishanim, he has busha. Busha is humility. It's the form of humility, feeling shame. If I did something wrong, I regret it. I do tshuva. I don't just wallow in misery and guilt, right? Like we do sometimes. No, I did tshuva. That's it. Let it go. And gomle chasadim. Olam chesed yibaneh. Hashem built this world for us to enjoy and gave us everything possible we could want, right? And so we have to be like him. Mahu rachum afata. Mahu chanun afata. Just like Hashem is. And we learned this. We want to learn a beautiful sefer. Everyone's asking me to give a shiur on it. Maybe we'll have a series on Tomer Devorah. Tomer Devorah is the Yud Gimel Midot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These Yud Gimel Midot, we're supposed to represent them in this world. How we act to others. How we act to ourselves. Right? Just like he is compassionate, so you have to be. Just like he forgives others. Those who are ma'avir, those who forgive, Hashem gives them forgiveness from their avodah. It doesn't look so closely. And by the way, the opposite is also true. We have to be careful not to judge others, not to speak negatively of others, because what we're doing is causing judgment upon ourselves and upon the person we're speaking about. The Chafetz Chaim speaks about this. So we have to be very, very careful how we talk and how we think about other people, because we're causing judgment upon ourselves and upon others. And this is all these things. As we're in the week of Malchut, as we're working on these aspects, we have to remember that this is for Hashem. How do I bring Hashem into my life? What kind of Shavuot do I want to have? What kind of representation am I representing to my friends, to my siblings, to my husband, to my friends, right? How am I acting? How do I want to act? How do I want to appear? And of course we kvetch, and of course we complain, and we're normal, we're human. But this week maybe, let's catch ourselves. Let's think a little bit before we speak, right? Let's act a little bit differently, even when no one's around. I remember of David Goldwasser, Shlita. He always says, you sit down to eat with a plate, a fork, and a knife. You don't stand up and walk around and eat, he's like, who are you? You're a bat melech. How does a princess eat? With a fork and a knife. at her table. Not, when we do that because we're cooking and, munching, but I mean when you're sitting down to eat. Not off time to eat. I'm sorry, my kids need me. Guess what? They're going to have a better mom if mom is well fed and drank and sit and relax for a few minutes. So before the kids come home, sit down and eat something. Drink something. Give yourself that zchut, right? Because you are a bat melech. And so as we enter into Shavuot, let us remember this concept and let us really, really connect with Ruth HaMoaviyah, with David HaMelech, with all our Avot and Imahot, the representative chesed, right? Avram and Sarah, what they did, they're Mekarev, invite someone to our house, make the cheesecake with kavanot, put a lot of kavanot into the cheesecake. There's a dinyan also for chalot. You make a challah in the shape of a ladder with 7 rungs. There's an inyan for Pesach, for Shavuot, sorry. Also to make a keter, to make a crown. It's also because we received 2 ktarim. We received 2. We didn't get to speak about it, but we received 2 crowns on Shavuot. Naaseh v'nishma. It shows our acceptance. Also malchut. It's malchut shebemalchut. Shavuot is malchut shebemalchut. It's the kingship within kingship. It's the highest level that we can reach. The 50th gate, right? That's what Moshe Rabbeinu reached. We weren't able. Shavuot, Hashem counts for us. We don't have to count it. And another thing I want to say, try to go to hear Aseret HaDibrot, because Aseret HaDibrot is our acceptance of the Torah. She says, the Ben Ish Chai says, a man who sits and learns a whole night and then falls asleep by Shacharit, he's missing the boat, right? Like the whole essence of that day is to be awake by receiving the Torah. So for women, you don't have to stay up the whole night. So make sure you have a good sleep so you can wake up, because most of the minyanim here are by nets. So it's a little early. I think 5:40 is like nets. Or a lot the shachar maybe. Maybe I think it's nets. And if you can, maybe you find a second minyan if there isn't. But try to be there, because what are you doing? By being there, you're being witness, right? You're giving testimony, edut, to acceptance of the Torah. And you're hearing the different dibot. Last night, Rabbi Yemima had the girl who won Chidot Tanakh. She was there last night, and she told us all the Seret HaDibot by heart. Yeah, she's such a sweetheart. And she was talking about the zchut of being able to receive the Torah. And so if you can't go to shul, you have kids, no worries, you can read it. And also be present and, try to understand and maybe learn something about a Perush Rashi or something. So Bezrat Hashem, we should be zocheh that this Chag Shavuot, we should be prepared with simcha. That's the other thing we didn't mention. Besimcha, bemalchut, with tremendous, joy and kedusha, that we're receiving the Torah, that we are embodying and we are representing bnei melachim. We are bnei melachim, the malchut. We're representing Hashem in everything we do, in our cooking, in our eating, in our conducting ourselves in our home. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great Chodesh Tov. So I wish everyone, because I know people have to go, so we're going to end. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll have another shiur. Try to come tonight. We're having an amazing evening pre-Shavuot program for women. So B'ezrat Hashem tonight, 7 p.m. in Mishkafayim. Please reach out to me if you need more details. And I wish everybody a Chodesh Tov, Chodesh of Simcha, a Chodesh of Malchut, a Chodesh that we're really, really zocheh to accept the Torah and be able to be ambassadors of Hashem's glory and Hashem's malchut in this world. And B'ezrat Hashem, it should be a Chag Sameach, and everyone should have Yeshuot, B'sorot Tovot, we should be zocheh to Mashiach Tzidkenu b'karav v'mira b'yameinu. Don't forget, it's one of the Shalosh Regalim, right? So B'ezrat Hashem, we should be zocheh to bring korbanot in the Beit HaMikdash, B'ezrat Hashem. Chodesh Tov, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the singing.